Alright, boys and girls, we are in Cohoes, New York at Seymour's Motorized Sports, and I just made a big purchase. So ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you for the first time 2016 Suzuki GSX-S1000, my very first brand new bike. So welcome to my first ride.
Nice pants. Nice pants. Nice pants. Those are nice pants.
She is already warmed up. All right. First thing right off the bat, which is one of the main reasons why I bought this bike, is the riding position. A lot less aggressive than my CBR. So this should make for a much more comfortable ride. A lot more fun ride. If you can hear that. It's got a nice little grumble for a stock exhaust. Nice and smooth shift in the second. And just as you would think, it just has torque like immediately. Just under 4,000, and the thing just puts you in the back of the seat. That's why I bought this bike. And another thing right off the bat, which is going to be completely obvious, is no windscreen. So there's going to be a lot more wind coming at your body. Riding position, pretty I don't know if the camera can see, but my knee's kind of bent. I'm flat-footed on both sides, and I'm not sure if the camera can pick up the like glistening paint job on this bike. It's amazing. The bike just wants to go, man. I gotta play with all the modes. It's got 9 miles on it, so it's only got about 991 more miles until it's broken in, till we can start fooling around on it. The riding position is so comfortable compared to what I'm used to on the CBR. It's so relaxed. Gear indicator, which I have not had in my past. Traction control, anti-lock brakes. There is a good amount of engine braking. You just, like, lay off the gas and it kind of does put you forward. And I've done tons and tons of research on different naked bikes. I mean, it was between the FZ09, Kawasaki Z1000. I mean, I won't get into the speed triple, but the Suzuki came out on top for me. Between the performance and just the overall look to it, I didn't feel like I could go wrong with this bike. But we have a long ride ahead of us. I live about 90 miles away from the dealership, so it's gonna take us about 2 hours to get home. So I'm gonna get nice and cozy with this bike. And one thing that's super notable too is its nimbility. Like, this bike just wants to be tossed around. More so than my CBR, I think. I mean, the weight compared to the engine size is pretty fair. I think my CBR is only like 405 pounds. This thing's only 436 dry, with like 145 horsepower and like 86 foot-pounds of torque. Readily available. I don't have to work for my power like I do with the sport bikes. That's what I love. That's what I'm looking forward to most, is just the power is just there right off the top. I'm loving this riding position, man. It's just so comfortable. It's got 3 different modes, one being the most aggressive, or you could just have traction control completely off. I've got on mode 3 just to help break it in, and from what I understand, you can change it. Yes, you can change it on the fly, so all you have to do is just let off the throttle. You can change modes like so. That's my mom in the car ahead of me. It's my car, and I completely spaced and forgot to renew my registration. So she's riding around in my car on an expired registration, so hopefully no troopers are out with a scanner. The comfortability to this bike is going to be tested right off the bat. Like I said, I'm about 2 hours away from the dealership, and this ride, I'm not saying for a minute that I couldn't have made it on the CBR, but it would have definitely put a toll on my back and neck. So we are putting it to the test immediately. Even just standing here, this bike is just super light. One of the first couple modifications we have to do is shorten up these levers. That is for certain. I just want to unleash this thing so bad, but can't do it, man. Can't do it right away. Few exterior positives about this bike. We've obviously got the Brembo brakes, ABS, traction control, and of course it's got the GSX-S1000 motor. Thing is so torquey, you guys. So torquey. Thing just puts you back. This thing is just so nimble. I mean, I'm doing 55 miles an hour and it's just, I don't think my CBR could move like that, man. I mean, this thing could just freaking bomb around corners. I don't know if you can hear the exhaust, but for a stock exhaust, the thing has some grumble to it. So this thing redlines at around 11,500, somewhere around there. My CBR will redline probably around 15,000, 14,500 to 15,000. These bikes are obviously geared completely different, where on the CBR you'll have to, like I said, just work your ass off to get the power and torque you want up in the 10, 11,000 RPM range. And this bike, right off the stoplight, you can just 12 o'clock this bike like nothing. So far the shifting has been pretty smooth. Changing the gears have been nice and smooth. Even in mode 3, which is like granny mode, where traction control is all the way up, the thing still has pop. I forgot that I had it in mode 3 when I've been, twisting the throttle like that, and it still fucking puts you back. I think I'll keep it in mode 3 for the entirety of the break-in period, and then once we have her broken in, we'll slowly work down to having just maybe traction control off, depending on how froggy we feel on certain days. I have to admit, the wind could be worse. The wind is definitely present, but it could definitely be a lot worse. I actually don't mind what I'm feeling right now. When I test drove the bike for the first time, I don't even think I got out of second gear. It was pretty much around a big parking lot. So I had very little opportunity, actually no opportunity, to feel, the wind and how it rides on the highway. But it is, so far, got it up to about 55, and it's comfortable, man. One thing I wish this had, and I see a lot of new bikes, some bikes aren't even new that have it, but I wish this had hazards where all 4 of your signal lights are flashing. I'm just so in love with how comfortable this bike is compared to the CBR. The seat itself feels like I'm sitting on a pillow. It's amazing. For you track guys, it's probably not the best thing to have such a comfortable seat, but I'm not a track guy. You buy the bike that is right for you. And from what I can tell, within the first 8 miles of riding this is the bike for me, guys. I knew going into this thing that I wanted a naked bike, and like I said, it was between the FZ09 and the Z1000, and obviously this bike, the GSX-S1000. And I am more than pleased with my decision. The problem with the Z1000 is that they come in 2 colors, green and black and green. Those are the two color schemes, okay? And although green's my favorite color, for a bike, I didn't want a green bike. I was looking at a 2015 leftover Z1000, and it was amazing, man. Especially the front cowl up front, where the headlight is housed. It was so gnarly. But I can't do having a green bike. No offense to my friends that have green bikes, because I have a couple. But it's, like I said, buy the bike that's right for you, and a green bike is not right for me. Oh my god, the nimbility. I know I don't have many subscribers on my channel right now, and I'm nearly certain most of my subscribers don't know who Chase on Two Wheels is. But he is another deciding factor on why I bought this bike. He does a ton of first rides on nearly every bike that you can think of, and I highly recommend you checking out his channel if you're into motorcycle related content, motorcycle gear, modifications, camera reviews, anything that you can relate to a motorcycle, he covers on his channel, and he does it very well. So Chase, if somehow you're watching, props to you, man. Been a long time subscriber. And your review of the GSX-S1000 was a big contributing factor to why I bought this bike. Oh, these brakes are serious, bro. Like 1500 RPM puts me in the back of this seat. That is ridiculous, you guys. If I open the throttle on the CBR at 1500 RPM, it would literally laugh at me in my face. Oh my god, you guys. Even mode 3. Come on. I'm loving the gear indicator, man. It is definitely, obviously, not a necessity, but it's a pretty sweet luxury, let me tell you what. This bike is so smooth, I can't even stand it, you guys. The only flaw that I have come up with in the 11 miles we've ridden is the hazards. I have no hazards. One thing that I'm actually looking forward to on a bike like this is the headlight is like positioned with the forks, so as you turn, your light distribution also turns with you, whereas on like the sport bikes, they're just straight on the cowl. I mean, then again, at the same time, it's really only good for slow speed turns, because, you know, anything at high speed, you're kind of counter steering, which actually defeats the purpose of, you know, having that advantage. It is a little soft going into neutral, so I've caught myself quite a few times putting it into neutral and having to look down to make sure that I'm in neutral. The mirrors aren't terrible. Just like any other bike I've ever owned, I'm getting about half of what's in my mirror to be my arm. I mean, quite frankly, it is a little bit better than what I've got going on with my CBR, but it's something you're used to. I mean, most bikes, unless you get like a bar mounted mirror, you're gonna have your arms in the mirrors. As far as the shifter and the brake are considered, they're in a fairly comfortable position. They're not, you know, like where I have to break my ankle to get to them. They're pretty much right where they should be, actually. You don't even have to like barely touch the throttle on this thing. I'm sorry if I'm like geeking out on such a noob-like thing, but I've really just had, you know, super sport bikes where you have to work for the power up at the high RPM range, and this thing is just, like I said, readily available. Just even in the braking period, it just wants you to unleash it. Not yet though, not yet. My mom was super nervous about driving my car, especially for 2 hours And I said, just put it in drive, listen to the GPS, and you'll be all right. I wonder if she realizes this is a turn-only lane. Nope. The suspension definitely is not as tight as the Super Sport bikes, obviously, which is good for me. Again, not so great for you track guys. I don't know if I would consider this a track bike. I mean, you could probably bring it to a track, but would it be your primary track bike if you went regularly? I don't know. Another big advantage to the riding position is not being as leaned over. You're not putting so much pressure and weight on your wrists, and, you know, having your arm, or at least your hand for that matter, fall asleep. I can hear you. I think she was telling me my signal was on. I've gotten worse over the years. I used to make fun of the guys that I ride with about leaving their signal on, and I'm caught in the act like fucking every time I go out. I imagine on a windy day it might get a little hairy, but it's pretty calm today, so the wind's pretty fair. Oh, we're doing 60 and a 40, ma. I wonder if she remembers that my registration is expired. The way that I would compare the power on this bike, like I said, it's in mode 3. At low range, at 4,000 RPM, is what I probably would get out of my CBR at, say, 9 to 10,000 RPM. So already, obviously this bike is 400 more cc's than that bike, but already in the granniest mode, it's already outdoing the CBR. And it's really not even a comparison. It's like apples and oranges. I don't know why I'm comparing my CBR. Maybe it's just because it's my ownership and I've been riding the CBR for 5 years. Another Harley guy not throwing down a wave, but that's obviously the norm. I just want to say, while we're in the middle of this first ride, if you guys have any questions on my current experience with this bike, or how the transition is going from a CBR 600 or a similar bike like an R6 or, you know, a Ninja, then feel free to comment in the section below, and I'm very attentive. I'll get back to you if you do have any questions, because I know I was very inquisitive before I dropped, you know, $10,000 on a bike. I want to know all the ins and outs, and you know, other people's experiences. Like I mentioned before, Chase on 2 wheels. I would definitely recommend his first ride for this bike. If you're seriously looking at this particular bike, the 2016 GSX-S1000, I mean, you know, keep watching my video, but check him out for sure, man. He's a real cool guy, and he knows his shit, man. He's very in-depth with his review, and he doesn't give you bullshit. If he doesn't like something, he'll tell you. And that's exactly what he tells the dealership when he takes these bikes out on first rides. He's like, listen, if I don't like this bike, I'm gonna let these people know. Which is cool. I, however, have not found more than one flaw with this bike. Like I said, the hazards are, that's it so far. Let's see if the tuck does us any good. Not really. But I really hope, I know the sun is right in your guys' face right now, so I apologize. We're heading west, so, but the paint job is just ridiculous. I don't know if you guys can see the sparkle in the camera, but the metallic flake is there, man. It's so beautiful. We're in 4th gear, doing about 60. It's literally just a flick of the wrist and you're already 10 miles an hour above what you were at. This thing just wants to lift the front wheel up, but the traction control is all the way up, so It's like, not right now, John.com. Not right now. It is so fast. And I'm in third. Like, I could just imagine what would happen to this bike if I put it in second right now. Traction control or not, this thing would fucking lift up. Mannheim, Mannheim, Mannheim.
Mannheim, 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 in the town of Mannheim.
And I think that's all that I have for this motorcycle for the first ride, for the first 80 plus miles on the way home. Like I said, if you guys have any questions about my personal experience with this bike or the transition from going from a 600 to a 1000, please feel free to leave a comment in the section below and I will promptly reply to you. Alright, before we end this video, you guys, we are gonna try out the turning radius of this bike. On my CBR, I always turned around at the end of this road with ease. So let's see how well this fares. Oh yeah, just as fine, if not better. So thanks again for watching, guys. This has been my first ride, and it's on a 2016 Suzuki GSX-S1000. See you guys in the next one. Peace.
And I find the freedom of the road, it served me best, and I've come to find that I can hit the ground running. So climb high and strive for the road that serves you best. Climb high and strive for the road that serves you best.
What are we doing? What are you doing? We got our high fives.